Okay.
All right, how's everybody doing? This is the Cheech and Manny True Crime podcast. This will be our first time talking about a true crime, and we've been talking about this for a while. So I figured we would jump into what's going on now in New England. It's me and my co-host Manny. How are you, Manner?
What is going on, brother? I'm excited.
Yeah.
First true crime episode, and we're gonna take a quick detour from music because one of the things that we love to talk about is like serial killers, crime, and cases. And it's funny because there has been a recent development of a string of murders,
Mhm.
which we're gonna talk about in New England and actually very in our backyards, which is kind of scary.
It's great. And me and Manny have been talking about this for a long time. We'll talk about at the tempo. We've talked about. I'm a Son of Sam expert. From my second favorite Manny. Those of you, I'm going to plug my second favorite Manny, Manny Grossman. He is. I told you about him, Manny. He reopened the whole, Ultimate Evil case about the Son of Sam and
Right, right.
Sam person. Check out Manny Grossman's podcast. He
Amazing.
inspired me to want to be a podcaster, and he's a huge Rush fan. The guy,
Yeah.
shout out to Manny Grossman. So
Sounds
you
like my kind of fella.
inspired me, Manny Grossman, and Manny, you inspire me the most. But Manny Grossman inspired me to want to do this. So me and Manny have talked about Son of Sam and Richard Ramirez and our
Right.
our boy Dahmer. We brought him up on not on the uh, True Crime podcast. We brought him up on Rush on the Subdivision
I know
video.
Dahmer, either sadly or unfortunately or surprisingly makes a guest appearance.
Yeah, and Subdivisions and Power Windows cover, from
Right.
Rush.
Right. But we argue that maybe Rush's Power Windows cover is like a young Dahmer or something.
So we're definitely this is like stuff that we're into, not as much as music, but as just interest and stuff like that. And
Right. Right.
so for me, the last serial killer that I remember that was in my backyard was the Son of Sam,
Mm,
and that was in '77, late '76, and I was a
right.
young. And for those of you who don't know the Son of Sam, he was a crazy lunatic who was killing people in the five boroughs, Brooklyn, Queens. I think he did kill in Yonkers, uh, in the Bronx.
That's really scary because that's like really like back home, like
Yeah.
backyard.
And he was killing young women with black hair. And I was 6 years old or 7 years old. And that was my mom. And I was like, oh my God, seven. My mom has black hair. You know what I mean?
That's scary.
So I remember my mom telling me the story. We went to go see the Mets play the Cincinnati Reds during this time. It was the Summer of Sam, which is a great movie. I believe it's is it Spike Lee? The Summer of Sam?
I think maybe I would have to
Yeah.
check. I would have to check.
And we went to and it was when Pete Rose broke the hitting record. I don't know how people feel about Pete Rose, but I still think Pete Rose is a great baseball player, even though he did some shady shit. But anyway, we watched him break the records, and my mom was saying she was so scared to be in the city, that night, and I didn't know I was a little kid, but I just remember being intrigued and scared because every morning in the paper you'd see Son of Sam
Right.
strikes. Like, so a lot of people don't know Maury Terry wrote the book The Ultimate Evil, and he came up with the theory that the Carr brothers were involved in this, and they were Son of Sam's neighbors. Son of Sam lived on Pine Street, and the Carr brothers lived a couple streets down, and
Hmm.
they were into this together. And it gets real dark, it gets real creepy. We won't get into it. It gets into satanic cults, Untermeyer Park rituals,
Hmm.
all this stuff. So I would say, like, if you want to learn more about it, read The Ultimate Evil or check out Manny Grossman's podcast. But anyway, like, the Son of Sam got caught, but he wasn't doing it by himself. Other people were doing it
Right. Right.
with the shooting people in the cars. A couple people survived and lived to tell the tale and stuff. So
Hmm.
but that's the last time I was a lot like around when there was a serial killer. But that was really close to home. And we always said that there can't be a serial killer anymore because
Well, it's funny. That conversation also resurfaced because, serial killers, yeah, you can't you may think that or could that they couldn't do or get away with what they do because of, the internet. Um,
ignition is everywhere.
yeah, so to be I mean, I'll be honest with you, to be a serial killer today, you really have to be like
Talented.
no, 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 you really have next level,
Like
um,
Navy SEAL kind of shit, you know what I mean? And it's really sad. I don't mean talented, but you got to really like know how to hide your tracks. Like DNA. There's a database with DNA. They could find you.
yeah.
You know. So like we always said, it's really hard to do this, but now what's happening in New England,
Hmm.
it's really scary because it's so close to home. So there's been murders. There's been 8 murders or 9. I'm a part of the Facebook group. There's a Facebook group, the New England Serial Killer. It's always giving up updates, and also like confusing people, and they kicked a lot of people off for saying crazy stuff. But some of the stuff is really good. So a bunch of women uh, and men. They're not saying all the people. They only released 3 people, and I'll tell you about them. But they found bodies in New Haven, Norwalk. That's scary. Okay,
That's right in our backyard.
that's scary. Foster, Rhode Island, Plymouth, Mass, and Springfield, Mass. And now the cops are saying they're not sure if it's a serial killer. Now, how do you feel about that? Is it just, they don't want the masses to be freaked out and every like nowadays innocent people might get shot or killed. you
Right,
know you're a serial killer. I'm gonna shoot you.
right.
no how do you feel about that? You think the police are just holding back, or
Hmm. Well, it's funny because I think there are two ways to think about this. I think the first one is that, and I've seen a lot of like detective movies and the detectives will like find a string of murders that seem unrelated, but then in their investigations they realize, oh wait, these are related, and now we are. So I'll be honest, with you, that's what we gotta be careful because we could have a serial killer on our hands. And then another level is, yeah, not to freak people out
yeah.
because obviously, you already know once people start freaking out, I mean they'll take,
People are nuts today too. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, they're yeah, yeah,
And the thing, I mean, I think it is a serial killer, but the thing why it might not be a serial killer, but it's too coincidental. Like, a serial killer usually kills, let's just say, like Ramirez. He killed in that one section of California.
right, right.
Berkowitz killed in the Bronx and Yonkers and Queens. So they're within a region. This is really far, from Connecticut, from Norwalk to Plymouth, Massachusetts. It's quite a ride. I've been to all these places.
Right, right,
Um, so that's why they're saying it's not a serial killer.
right.
So there are some theories that it could have been a cult that's doing this.
Which is also plausible. I mean,
Some theories are it's gangs just doing this. Um, so I don't think it's one person doing it, but somebody does. Who I'm gonna bring up. There's a theory that somebody does.
so
So
what do you think? So based on some of the, do you think there's do you think for all our I get fans of people watching it, so should they be alarmed? Do you think there is a connection?
Uh, 8 bodies show up.
That's a lot. I mean, I'll be honest, that's a lot in like
Three
a
states, not to be, well, it is a true crime show, so I'm going to be brutally honest. They found body parts in suitcases in cemeteries in or they found a body in Rocky Point, Connecticut. They might have found a body in a cemetery in Connecticut.
right,
Not for us, up the line a little bit.
right,
And he's killing, or they're killing people like Jason would kill people from Friday the 13th in the
right,
woods on hiking trails.
right, which is actually pretty frightening. Like now,
Yeah,
I definitely do not want to go hiking.
yeah, that's where they're finding these bodies, and they're finding them in the rivers. I'm gonna get to that.
Well, we'll say now, I guess definitely I probably will not be going hiking in New England.
No, no, stay out of New England. He hasn't crossed. I mean, he has killed in New Haven, New Haven, and Norwalk, and that's pretty close, getting closer to home. He hasn't come to Greenwich yet. You know,
Yeah, this is gonna be a sick joke. Maybe he should come to a certain temple. Imagine if you like saw him and it's sort of like imagine if you saw him like you've seen the movie Zodiac, right? And
yeah,
remember how the guy came close to the killer but he didn't know?
yeah, yeah.
Like you probably say, "Hey, can I get Chris, can I get a pound of low low
Well,
fat turkey?"
about that all the time. When I see like some creepy person I'm waiting on, and me and Glenn, because Glenn, the buyer is from that area in Massachusetts, so he actually brought this to my attention, and we've been texting about it and stuff. And then there was a joke like, not you shouldn't be joking about this, but like like seeing my long hair and me walking to the temple from behind. Oh, there's a woman, and I'm getting stabbed, and he's like, oh, my bad. It runs off. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. But it's really sad. It's not a joking thing. But I don't know. I think it's multiple people involved because you can't just kill somebody and a human body's pretty heavy.
Right, right,
In your car and dismember them. You
right,
a couple of sickos on your hand. If it was one serial killer, it would be more local. Going back to Jack the Ripper, it's localized. It's easier to do that locally.
right.
And Jack the Ripper, Ramirez, but what they're doing is they're going into states. That's why the police are just confused. They don't know what to make of it.
Right, right. And again, I think it's worth noting you mentioned that this was like you got this or you joined like some Facebook group, right? And um it's kind of crazy because first of all, like multiple bodies and human remains. I mean, you
Doesn't
can't
have,
make this up. And also discovered in 3 states.
yeah,
And they began showing up in early March.
yeah,
Continued throughout April. So there's that sort of, because I feel like, I get you probably know more than me in terms of how a serial killer operates, but not because you are one, but because we looked into this. Just disclaimer, we're not serial killers. And but one of the things is that they sort of space their murders out.
yeah.
And actually, if there was a connection, I'll be honest with you, it would make sense to take your time because in this day and age, it's hard to get away with this type of stuff. And also, they're all female too. So we can rule out like a Dahmer-like type.
Yeah, there might have been one male, believe it or not. I'm not sure. They're not saying. They're not saying. I have I let me see. So the woman that that were definitely murdered and God rest their souls. I feel sorry for them. A
Yeah,
woman, Denise Leary from New Haven. She's from New Haven.
right.
A woman named Paige Fannin. Poor girl. She was beautiful. I think she was from Long Island. She was
Right,
found
right,
in
right.
Norwalk River.
Dude, what's really creepy, I think I got the Denise from New Haven, right? She
Yeah,
was she was a missing woman. And um, well actually, hold on. You just mentioned Paige, right?
yeah, Paige Fannin.
This is crazy because in March. the police authorities found 35 years old, which is tragic.
Yeah,
Found in Norwalk River
yeah,
just 2 days after her family reported her missing.
yeah.
And then going back what you just said, that same day, a man stumbled across a human skull in the woods in Plymouth, Massachusetts.
Right. A human.
Which I'll be honest with you, that's either one
What's a?
strange.
Is it a coincidence? Like, what is a coincidence? You know?
I,
I,
and also the fact that and just so for our viewers out there, that's why I say girls, ladies, be careful because
yeah.
um I think there's some even if it's not linked. I like how you said that it could be uh maybe like a group of people working or um because you know I mean these sound very strange, but
Yeah.
and
It's either,
then you mentioned did you mention Michelle Romano yet?
no. Michelle Romano was found in Foster, Rhode Island,
Right.
and then five other bodies that have not come out with any names that were discovered in Rhode Island.
Right.
So then I got some real interesting stuff that I'm gonna bring up, but I just think is this a coincidence? Does this happen? Like when have you heard this happen? Never.
Dude, I feel like I don't know, we need to upplay this because I'm scared for and like any other people that may be out there. Just definitely and obviously we're not trying to sensationalize or like say panic, but
Be careful. Like
it's the scary part how close it is to our backyards in
yeah,
Norwalk River.
yeah, we're you're in Connecticut. I'm in New York, but I'm right on the border. I'm on the
Right,
border
right,
literally. I work in Connecticut, so it's 5 minutes from there.
right. But who's to say the killer, if let's say if it's a serial killer, this person is gonna come, it looks like he's going down the northeast,
Yeah,
or up.
I
I hope he's going up. I mean, I hope he's not, hopefully, I hope,
hopefully he doesn't come down like Norwalk, Stanford, Greenwich,
right,
Port. But there's not a lot of wooded areas like there is. It's not that rural where we live.
right,
No, and like Greenwich there is the back roads and stuff,
right.
but like it's not
And,
like Rhode Island or
yep,
Massachusetts.
yep. I gotta tell, I have a few family that lives in Boston, gotta watch out for that. But
Yeah,
it's crazy because going back to, and this is a true crime podcast, so, definitely kids should not be watching.
yeah, yeah,
But the torso of a woman named Suzanne Wormser, 58, was found, and this is the one you were mentioning, stuffed in a suitcase
yeah,
in a cemetery in
yeah,
Groton, Connecticut. Now, by the way, torso.
yeah, yeah.
Why are we not talking about this?
Yeah. And then another body was found in Rocky Point, Connecticut, about a week ago. Another woman. So like, how is this happening? And like, that's why I think it's, in my opinion, cult related.
Right, right. No, yeah, I guess you will talk about this because that's interesting.
Yeah, because I'm not, and it was brought up on the Facebook page that there was a certain cult that might be involved. I'm not going to say what they were because it'll just creep it out, make this more creepy. But there's no real sign. Most cults, when they do stuff like that, they usually like Ramirez. He wasn't in a cult, but he would leave a message or something behind that's real evil.
Right,
No, you're not seeing any of that. Or like the smiley face killer, which is the last serial killer to be around, and they would always leave a smiley face somewhere when
right,
killed, and they killed college kids. They were killing like young kids in college, Um, so they would leave like a smile face, and it was always a white van and a smiley face left behind,
mhm,
and the body was winding in the river. And the sick thing about them, the bodies were only like maybe a day old, and the bodies and the kids were missing for like 6 months,
right.
like real creepy stuff like that. and it's always so depressing and sad for the families, and my heart goes out for the
Yeah.
family, you know.
And I think it's great we're doing this because I was having again, not to a very special person. We were having a conversation yesterday about this, and I'll be honest with you. That's why I like doing this because we should just so avoid more, sadness and t take precautions. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think I agree with you. That's a lot of bodies in one area, and I'll be honest with you. Yes, far, but we're not. But in terms of the New England, they're kind of close.
Yeah, and it's not just like, I mean, there's a lot of sick people out there, but like, is there that many sick people now that they just decide to kill people and chop them up? I don't think so.
Yeah, and again, I have to say, torso found in a suitcase.
That's sick.
That's weird. I understand maybe human remains in the suitcase, right? Because maybe they were trying to hide the evidence or something. But the fact that this person chopped this person up
Yep.
and left,
I mean, this is like Jason kind of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
And usually you see a dead body in the woods and there's foul play involved. This is psychopathic killer,
yeah,
not a normal person, or persons.
hmm
You have to like think about it. It's related. I'm sorry. It's a serial killer in my opinion. And there's not a serial killer, it's serial killers. Because one person cannot do this. And if they do, if one person is doing it, I don't know how they're doing it. Like how the heck are you getting away with this on your own? Because
right.
a lot of work
No, for
involved.
sure. Which your idea of like the either a group or a cult is not far-fetched.
Yeah,
And also, I noticed women of color mostly.
yeah, yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
And then there's five other bodies from Rhode Island that they're not releasing.
Mm,
And I watched all the press conferences with the police, and of course they ask, "Is it serial killer?" And the police are like, "No, we have no comment on that." So this is very interesting. The Connecticut River Valley Killer. And I do remember stumbling upon this when I was heavily studying, true crime stuff.
mhm,
This man killed from 1978 to 1988,
mm,
killed seven women. Um, and I've been following this lady's podcast. It's called Invisible Tears. Her name is Jane Borowski, and she's a remarkable woman. I believe she's from Rhode Island. She was the last survivor of this Connecticut Valley killer. Um, this man stabbed her, I think, 37 times when she was pregnant. And the baby
yikes.
lived and she lived. And she has a podcast that talks all about it, Invisible Tears. Now, she came out, she didn't say,
Hmm,
but the possibility that maybe this guy, this killer, is coming back after all these years and doing it again because they never caught him.
mm,
That's a theory being thrown out there, but the guy would be old,
mm.
be in his 70s. You know, it's kind of like the Zodiac killer. Like if you're a killer, uh, you know, how do you not kill for 20 years? Because it's your impulse to want to kill.
Right, right.
I stopped killing in the 80s. She was maybe because she was a lot, she didn't die. She
Mm,
survived. He's like, oh, I'm going to get caught now. And he
mm,
just went into hiding. But it's really sad. It's really sad, her story. It's a happy
mm,
story because her baby lived and stuff. But, she's very, God, scarred forever by this.
mm.
22 years old when it happened. So I don't know if it's her theory, but it's some theories that maybe it's this guy coming back. And they have sketches of what this guy would look like now.
Right, right.
So I don't know. It's interesting. What do you think about that? Do you think? I mean, it sounds like Mike Myers from Halloween, part two.
I
I
was
mean,
gonna say it's like a Mike Myers or a Jason.
yeah, like you think this guy would come back, and is that far fetched, or is this a brand new?
I mean, not far. It's not far fetched.
You being a psychologist, you studied a lot of psychology. How, like, criminal minds, like, how do these guys think? These psychopaths, like, would they come out of hiding and say, "Oh, I need to kill again"?
I'll be honest with you, just looking at the normal patterns, it's in succession. Like there's always a pattern to it. And even if they went into hiding, like let's say if they come out of hiding, let's say 20 years. So for this guy, how many years would have passed if it was him?
I was in high school when this happened, so
Right.
35.
So I think two problems. First, he's gonna be very old,
Yeah,
unless he has like demonic evil strength, which could be possible. But I feel like with most people that want to commit these like serial killer murders, like first of all, the idea of a serial killer, like a Dahmer, right? You what they do that, and again, they're psychopathic, right? Too, they're very methodical. They're probably you're highly intelligent. You have to be.
yeah,
And I'm not talking about like this is somebody that plans their murders. They're victims. They take painstaking research to find, locate. See, you don't stop. Like, unless they got on like psychiatric medicine
right,
or got addicted to a certain drug, you don't stop and you continue. And
yeah,
that's usually how you get caught.
right.
Like,
And
because you have that,
that's how
you
all that.
have that addiction and appetite. And there was also a thing with like the Zodiac killer too, where the killing stopped and then they came back. So
Mm.
there was some controversy for somebody who they thought it was, but it wasn't, but maybe it was. But
He's
then
because he never got caught.
well, that's the thing. And the problem could be that, you know what could be though? Somebody new could take on the identity of that Connecticut killer,
Yeah,
which
that's
could
true.
be possible. My only thing with that is they might be too old.
Yeah,
You know?
maybe, and he only killed in a region. Like he
Right,
was. No.
right.
So I guess to be a serial killer, technically, you have to kill regional. Like there was a guy, 2000.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense because I mean, you would have to be a evil, like intelligent serial killer to murder in like different states, which
Yeah,
is possible.
I mean, no, I'm not ruling out that I think it's serial killers.
Right.
A serial killer doing this because there's too many bodies. This isn't normal. This isn't like you hear about this happening. You hear about a body in a state, and
Right.
that's it. One person, two people. Some guy kills his girlfriend, that kind of thing, and he dumps
Right.
her,
Right.
that kind of thing. But this is like really scary, and it's happening way too often. So it's not random people being killed, or is it copycats? I don't think so, because I don't think it's a copycat thing, where like people are just killing people and dumping them in the woods.
Right. Right.
That's
Well, what's funny, dude, as an aside, I'm just reminded of this because we're on the talk of Connecticut. Um so do you remember the woman that was found in the suitcase in Connecticut
yeah, in on the Taconic.
in Greenwich?
Yep, right on the border.
So it was a Valerie Reyes, right?
Yeah,
And what's weird here is that 24 years old, which
it
is
was put
crazy.
in a suitcase.
Found a suitcase in Greenwich. I think this was in 2019. Died apparently, according to the medical exam, died of homicidal asphyxia or a lack of oxygen. Um, and but for this one, I think it was the boyfriend that did this,
Yeah,
which is insane too. Um, but the fact that for what my point is um you know just I don't know if we want to get some grisly details, but the boyfriend put packing tape over her mouth, bounded her legs and hands, and placed her in a suitcase, which he left in the forest, right? So, okay, that's pretty frightening. But imagine if he was a serial killer, he would like chop her up like he did with the woman's torso, right? So we're dealing with someone very, we're not dealing with like you know, I'm not trying to be like make a joke out of it, but that boyfriend, that's amateur hour, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. Like
This is some real sick shit that's going on.
this is, yeah. So, and for all of viewers out there, again, I mean, don't let kids watch this, obviously, but we're not raising alarms. But I do think there's a connection here. So I would say with women, be careful. We're not sure if they're victim males. I know you said there might have been one.
Might have been, see, there's so many, and there might even be more than 11 now. I mean, I haven't been on the Facebook in a couple days, but they said they might have caught some guy and they might have caught the killer, but I don't think so. This is probably one of the toughest cases in probably serial killer history because
Hmm.
it's spread out so much. You know, Jack the Ripper was, in like Whitechapel in England, and that
Right.
was,
Right.
like I said, the Son of Sam, all this stuff was done in the areas.
Right.
Uh, Bundy, that was done in an area, like he was killing in California and stuff like that in colleges. So there's a pattern. This is a pattern, but it's a real messed up pattern. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
messed is this? Like, so it's like, um, years ago. Now, this is also a kind of thing too, but it's not. This is not. This doesn't apply to the New England serial killer. Years ago in Portchester, they, not to be gross or grisly, they found body parts on a street not too far from my house. They found a torso or something in a
Hmm.
suitcase on Sycamore Lane in Portchester, and it turned out to be a drug deal going bad.
Hmm.
So, like, you get these lunatics, these crazy drug dealers that do stuff like that. We all saw Scarface in that opening scene. You know what I mean? So, like, it could be something. You know, it's not like that. You know what I mean? It's not like these girls were victims. So I'm trying to put every angle on this to be like what could cause a person to do this. Drug dealers that are crazy, um, cults, or just lone crazy people that decide that they want to, hey, let's go out and be serial killers. Like,
Right.
like the kid and his nephew in Georgia that were shooting people. Remember that? They were at gas stations and stuff
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah. Yeah.
early 90s. So it's been a long time since there's been a this kind of thing. And
But what was the last and by the way, this is the first of many episodes to come. I think we can just start off with the Connecticut one because I think that's really, frighteningly relevant, and I'm hoping it's not a serial killer. I don't want it to be, but the evidence does point to, it's definitely odd. There's something odd about the pattern of killings and the proximity. But um yeah, because the last serial killer, it's been a long time.
the last serial killer I remember reading about was a guy in Long Island who was killing ladies of the evening. You
Right.
know, no, he was killing prostitutes, and that was in an area. It was like, it was like within, I don't know, blocks. So um, it's hard to say. I think the police are just baffled. So just, people that live in the New England area, even in the Connecticut. I mean, just the fact it happened in New York and it happened in New Haven. Just be careful. I like it
Yes.
doesn't come down our area, but I haven't heard anything new. And on the Facebook, a lot of it might be fake news. I don't even know. I try to follow the actual news, and it hasn't gotten a lot of press. It's not on TV.
No, it's and I think it's because like I think there was some press, but I think it's because they're following the police and investigation rulings where they're saying, there's no connection here, and obviously they're not gonna broadcast something that happened in Massachusetts and Greenwich. Like they might,
Yeah, that's true. You know,
but I mean, but the Norwalk thing is kind of freaky. I'm like,
it
yikes.
is. so close to home, you know. And why this guy in Norwalk? Like, what? Like, why did he choose Norwalk?
Of all places.
And New Haven's a city. I don't think there's any wooded areas in New Haven.
No, no.
So, well, he left a body in New Haven. I don't think he killed anyone in New Haven. The body might have been left there.
Right.
Rocky is like, you know, a river, a wooded area. Um, so I don't know, you know. It's just a tough. To me, it's definitely serial killer material. But
Mhm.
this is like a tough one. It's just like a tough case for the police or even like, you know, true crime buffs like us to
Mhm.
kind of like be like, and it's like we're involved in it because like, you know, we're true crime guys. So we're trying to like see like, you know, is it a serial killer and why is it happening? And going back to the history of all the people we've studied, all the serial killers, like it's never been done before.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a
Never,
long time. I mean, I never wanted another serial killer, but um
but it's never been done in different states. The Dahmer never killed.
yes, yes. And actually that would make sense why you would rule out serial killer.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. No. No, no.
In other states. I think he killed in Florida, but like he told that later on. Like a lot of serial killers will get caught and tell them like, yeah, you know, in 20 years ago, 15 years ago, I killed so and so. Go to this wooded area, you'll see a body. You know what I mean? And that's what happens with some of these people. But so this is a tough one, you know. Just too many bodies though to like to just blow it off as like, oh yeah, you know, it's just it's a coincidence. There's definitely a meaning of like a purpose to who's ever doing this. You know, like they're killing because they're killing. There's no way this is a coincidence.
Well, again, I mean, it's not a coincidence because just the fact that that woman in Norwalk with the chopped up torso. I mean, it's one thing if this dude stuffed her body in the suitcase and left it there, right? Trying
Yeah.
what the other poor woman in Greenwich, but the fact we're dealing with somebody that uh is Jason and
Oh
uh Michael Myersing people. I mean.
God. I mean,
We're
it's
dealing with someone, even if the killings are not connected across the region, still,
just
people in Norwalk and us too. I'm kind of like freaked out now because it's like, all right, that's weird.
yeah.
Like that should cause alarm. This is a person with tools that's able to.
Oh God.
It's
I know.
horrible,
Yeah, you know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre type of.
dude. Yeah, like Leatherface. And it's crazy because also there was mysterious. Just a little society because you're making me think about these things. My brother who lives in Brooklyn. There
Yeah.
was some mysterious deaths near Brooklyn, right? In this club called the Mirage.
Hmm.
You ever heard of these? Um, two ravers, so ravers, people that go clubbing,
Yeah.
found dead in a creek just weeks apart. Um,
This is during what's going on now, or this is
no, this was a few years ago.
okay.
Yeah. Um, and but it's just crazy because um these were poor ravers that got drunk, right? And my brother was saying that this person was kind of like seducing them. Now he was killing a male killing males, right?
Yeah.
And the two the two bodies were found dead in the nearby, like cesspool river.
Yeah.
And I believe they did not catch the killer.
Really. But
Which, and once again, like I feel like with this kind of like, but my point, I'm bringing this up because
question: Did were there more bodies found after? So it wasn't a serial killer. It was just
not a serial killer, but the killings were connected because the killer was tracking down ravers at this place called the Brooklyn Mirage,
okay. And he
and
only
possibly homosexual too, most likely.
okay,
'Cause he
but he
was,
only he killed two poor people. He took their lives.
yes, yes,
Yeah, that's crazy.
yeah. but it freaked, and especially my brother, freaked people out because my brother lived close by. But my point is why I bring this up is because going back to the murders here, I mean, don't think it's coincidental. I think it's connected, and
Oh yeah.
definitely we wouldn't want more victims and be
No.
careful out there. I mean, even if they're not connected, I kind of do believe the cult idea that maybe it's a cult in operation
Yeah.
in Connecticut, and the New England area, which
Yeah.
again, that's actually well documented. Cults do this. The only weird part is, like you said, they're doing it across the states, which is unique. So
Yeah.
this would be very unique and unprecedented.
Yeah.
But either way, um, a torso in a suitcase in Norwalk, that is freaky.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
mean, you can't even like, dude. I'm not trying to make a joke out of this. If her body, full body, like the poor girl in Greenwich was found in Norwalk River, I'm like, okay, at least it was somebody trying to get rid of a body, which is still horrible.
yeah. Yeah.
The fact that it's this, you know, Michael Myers incident here, I'm like, it's
I know.
strange.
It really is. It's like so. Like I don't know what's going on now. I haven't heard much, but I don't know how the cops could like. How do you even stop this? You can't put like cops in every wooded area and from here to
The
Mass.
fact that the woodsy areas, yeah, avoid the. I'm definitely gonna
Yeah.
avoid those areas.
No, I don't know. So this was definitely a good topic to start because it's like a big, huge question mark.
Very relevant. Oh, and before I forget, just on the lot, I feel like with our true crime, we should go back to the beginning and the beginnings and track down the first, you know, serial killers and go from there.
Well, the first American serial killer,
Oh, and of course, depending, we have to pick our country, but yeah,
yeah, was H. Holmes.
which I think Psycho was based on, right?
Yeah.
Which we got to do an episode on that, but we'll track each one.
So the Hotel of Horrors, they're in the Chicago World's Fair where he had guests come in and he like would gas them and he built this kind of like the Manchester house, like this crazy,
That one I heard about. That one's frightening. And he
crazy,
literally opened up this hotel just for that purpose,
yeah. And he
which
would
is freaky.
gas the people. He had an incinerator. He was like outside of his freaking mind.
Dude, you ever seen the movie Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber?
Yeah,
He's like a Sweeney Todd.
yeah. It might have been based on that too. And then this
Maybe.
is right after maybe 10, 12 years after Jack the Ripper.
Right, right.
And
And Jack the Ripper, we'll probably start with Jack the Ripper because he's considered the most classic.
yeah, yeah.
He's
And
pretty.
and Jack the Ripper, there's so many in the movie The Ripper with Johnny Depp. You see, I'm sure you've seen that.
I've
You've seen,
seen it. Is it good?
oh God, it's amazing.
I'll
Oh my
watch it.
God.
I
Talk
love
about
Johnny Depp, so I gotta watch it.
talk about the East Enders. The act,
Wait, that's in the East End, right?
yeah, and then
Yo, fuck you very much.
yeah, they all talk like the East End maiden.
Hey, yo, fuck you very much, man.
But he was killing prostitutes, so he had a pattern. But he was like unique because that's a small area, Chapel Hill, Whitechapel. I mean Whitechapel. Like that's a small area, and the police and everything were saying that was another scandal. That people knew what he was doing. It might have been the Freemason. You might have been a Freemason, and the police might have been connected. It might have been a politician.
Right.
And it was not to be gross, but the way he carved up these women, he did it like a surgeon. So he studied surgery. So this is going back to the days of the body snatchers when they were studying human anatomy. They would dig up freshly dead bodies out of a cemetery and like bring them to science class. And like if you're a doctor, that's how you learned about the heart, the brain, all that stuff. So this is during that era. So he definitely studied medicine to be a doctor,
Right.
like just butchering people, like what's happening in the Connecticut serial killer. So, but like, why doesn't it end? It goes back from 1890.
I
And
know.
serial killers
And
were back.
and then we'll probably talk, I mean, this Grizzly, but the golden age, which was the 60s and 70s and 80s.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
so get excited. We're gonna be like we're gonna be talking about all this. So I think we have our music, and then we'll have our true crime episodes.
And even like the non-serial killers, like like Manson technically is not a serial killer,
No, no.
but it's fascinating. He's another fascinating character. How he made everybody
Well,
do.
we're gonna, yeah, you know, it's funny. We're not gonna explore serial killers. Like he's a psychopath, and like the Heaven's Gate stuff, and Jane. We're gonna do all
Yeah,
that,
Jamestown, like that, and
and
like
we gotta do an episode on Scientology, how creepy they are,
yeah, yeah. L. Ron Hubbard, he was a student of Aleister Crowley. No,
which
so
interesting connection there.
connected, Not that Crowley was not a serial killer or anything like that, but like it just it's kind of everyone. A lot of people dabble in the occult that get into the cult world, like with the Son of Sam. So you know, a it's a couple of crazy people. B, it's a cult, or C, it's just coincidental.
Right, right,
You know, I'm going with A and B. There's no
same,
way it's a coincidence.
right.
There's no way this could be coincidental. And it's fascinating. It just fascinated me because I was like, I thought of us because like we always talked about it. Like, can't be a serial killer in the modern times because facial recognition, um, cameras everywhere.
Well, everybody has a phone. I mean,
Yeah, you'll get caught so quick if you even tried.
right,
But somehow, being in the wooded areas, they're picking the right areas to do this.
right, right. So someone did some research.
Yeah,
And no offense, Connecticut does have some creepy woodsy areas. So,
yeah, I've been to a lot of these creepy
yeah.
spots. So it's like I don't know. I just pray for my heart goes out to the families.
Mhm.
That these poor girls got killed. And then I hope nobody else gets killed. I hope they get these bastards before
Mhm.
more destruction and evilness. I mean, it's pure evil. That's just
Yeah. Yeah.
that's that's satanic shit right there. Chop
Yeah.
chop.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I don't think. I mean, could it be a satanic cult doing it? Because that always
I
goes back.
mean, there's a high chance for that
Yeah, because
because that's also been well documented.
yeah, going back to the Son of Sam and stuff. But
I was gonna say we should do an episode on like the satanic cults and some of their mass murder sprees, which it's not a satanic cult. It's like usually like
because most satanic cults aren't gonna go out and do these things. Like
no.
it's not like it's like satanic cults. Like they could get a bad rap. Like Anton LaVey was blamed a lot with the man when the Manson stuff happened. They went right to LaVey.
Right.
And
Right.
I don't do that. I'm not a. So usually it's people that make up a satanic cult, you know,
Right.
and decide let's get a group of people and kill in the name of the devil or something. And
Right.
that's like Ramirez. Um, so I'm not saying it's satanic cults because there's a lot of satanic cults out there that are not doing any of those things, but there could be a cult activity, maybe satanic, may not be satanic, that's doing this. Just going through the history of going back to the Son of Sam.
Right.
Oh, like but even that there's theories that it wasn't a satanic cult, or I believe it totally was a satanic cult with
Mm.
the Son of Sam. Always fascinated me. But so I'm not saying it's a satanic cult, but it's definitely a cult,
A
or
cult.
or it could be a satanic cult, or it because like when you do shit like that, like it just brings to mind evil.
Yeah.
So you know, so I don't know. On that note, anything else before we wrap it up? Um,
I think it's a good first episode because due to the relevancy of it,
yeah, and
and we will keep you as you and we get new information on every true crime episode, we'll give you updates.
Yeah, we will, definitely, So just people that live in the New England area, be very careful.
Mhm.
And I don't know how the cops are going to catch these people because this is why it's like groundbreaking. It never ever happened in the
Yeah,
history
yeah,
of serial killer.
yeah.
I don't know if serial killers. I got to research it and look in my books. Did they ever travel and kill? You know,
Hmm.
but I just hope it stops. Or that's what's probably going to happen. It's going to just stop.
Right.
I don't think they're going to catch anybody. It's going to stop, and then maybe a year will go by, and it'll slowly start up again. That's my prediction.
Hmm.
Because it's really hard to catch. How are you going to catch these people? You have to be very, you know, uh, good. The police have to be very good. Like the
Right.
way the son of Sam got caught. He got caught because of a parking ticket. That was just
Right.
a freak, destiny for him to get caught.
Right.
But say it was done on purpose, and he just took the fall for the cult.
Hmm.
Which would have been the process, church of the process. So anyway, on that note, I'm gonna look behind my back tomorrow when I go to work. Hope he doesn't think I'm a chick. I mean, God, it's just
Make
like
sure you show him your beard. No
yeah,
chick. Oh,
they're walking like that. If he's in Connecticut, I mean, and it's not, and I'm not making fun or anything. It just, it's just so sad.
yeah.
So sad. I
Yeah.
pray to God that they catch him.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, definitely a good opener to the true crime, a little away from the music, and just to shout out to the other Manny. If you like true crime stuff, check out Manny Grossman, and
Uh, and I'll link his channel on down.
yeah, because
Yeah.
he inspired me to like want to be a podcaster.
It's amazing.
Because the thing that always made me laugh about Manny Grossman, like he's a genius, the guy. He reopened the whole Son of Sam cult thing, and he changed his mind a little bit. He would go back and forth, but in the book, The Ultimate Evil, um, what's his name? The guy who wrote the book. My brain is shutting down because it's like 9:30. We were talking about bands, the Satanic Panic of the '80s, and Rush comes up because of the pentagram, and he's like, "Oh, there's all these bands out there that are influencing the Satanic Panic, and one band is Rush." And Manny Grossman would always be like so pissed at that. He's like, they're not even evil. There's nothing evil about Rush. They don't even sing about evil
There's
lyrics.
nothing. If anything, slightly religious.
Yeah, I mean, so the Satanic Panic was like in the '80s. That was a scary thing because that's when it was at the height
Right. Right.
of that kind of stuff. I remember I knew a kid who was in one of those things, and he told me some really messed up stuff that was like, okay, don't want to know about that, you know. And the scary thing is like once you're in, it's like the mafia, you ain't getting out.
Yeah.
Your
Sounds
brain,
right.
and but it's a new breed of that religion. It's a religion now, But
Right.
like I said, I don't think it is that. I think it's a cult, or a couple of psycho or 5 or 6 psychopaths out. I have no idea. It just intrigues me, makes me think. So for our listeners out there, this was our first true crime podcast. Hope we did good. I mean, this is our other passion,
Mm.
but not like music, but just fun stuff to throw theories out there. And I
Hmm.
pray again for the families
Hmm.
of the girls that
Right.
died, and I pray to God that they catch these evil
Yeah.
people doing the devil's work, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I love how we're doing this because, far from us being like totally, um, interested and fascinated by this, but just to warn people, I think, like I think just be careful out there.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. You know, it's really, especially like up the line where it's happening more. You know,
Yeah,
uh, State Groton in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. Like if it starts coming down here, then it's going to be like, oh man, this
right.
this is bad. But Norwalk is really too close to home.
Which again, that's why it makes it kind of a little frightening.
Yeah, so
So,
just
we'll,
for
we'll we'll give you updates as we continue the true crime episodes,
yeah,
and if we get anything new, you especially, Cheech, because you unearthed a lot of this information. We'll
yeah.
keep you updated.
And if you're interested, join the Facebook group because that's where a lot of information is. I don't know, a lot of people post weird stuff. A lot of people post truth. So hope you enjoyed our first true crime episode, and this was a good thing to do, you know. And I would definitely, if you're into this, I just want to give her a shout out because I really really like her podcast. Give me a second. The new uh the the Connecticut River Valley killer, Jane Borowski, um in her podcast is Invisible Tears, and she tells her story. So it's just, if you wanted to learn about that particular case, which I don't think that's the guy who's doing it now. That would be like really chasing something. But check out her podcast because she's very fascinating and very lucky lady to survive that. So just a plug for her, and a plug for Manny Grossman, and a plug for the Cheech and Manny True Crimes show. And hope we did good, true crime podcasters out there that watch this. This is our first episode, so you know. But on that note, be safe, Manny, and I will talk to you on the next episode.
Sounds good, brother. And careful if you're around Norwalk.
Oh yeah, no, I'm more worried about getting out of my car in Greenwich. Like I walk by a patch of woods every day in a cemetery too. Where I park my
That
car.
yeah, that's scary.
So I'm gonna keep looking around. Vivid imagination.
But yeah, but on that note, Cheech, till the next true crime episode, this was a lot of fun. I
Yeah,
will not fun, morbid, but
but
fascinating.
factual
Yeah.
fascination.
Yeah.
All right, cool,
Cheech, have a good night, brother.
good man.
Stay safe out there. I mean it.
Definitely, and we pray. Our heart goes out to the families.
Yep.
This is done out of respect, and hopefully the police will get some good leads
Yeah.
and get this bastards or people
Yeah. Yeah.
to stop, because that is sick, man. That is so sick.
Yeah.
But all right, so sweet dreams, everybody.
Everybody, this has been the Cheech and Manny True Crime Show podcast. The probably the People's True Crime podcast.
Yes.
Uh, Fantastic. And we get and make sure you drop us a follow, a like, comment below. What do you think about it? Do you
Yeah.
think
You
is there
have
any evidence? Do you think what Cheech is saying
Yeah.
is credible?
Would love to know your opinion on this. Do you think the police are hiding something? They don't want
Yeah.
to serial killer? Do you
Yeah.
think it's cult activity? Do you
Yeah.
think a bunch of crazy people just doing bad stuff? Put it in our comments. Or
Yeah.
we're not investigators or anything. This is just a hobby of
Mhm.
ours, and a passion about true crime.
Right.
So we would love to hear the opinions, and what how we can make these shows even better. So, but
All right.
all right,
Yeah,
Manny,
on that note, Cheech, my friend, till the next one.
definitely.
All right, brother.
All right, bye bye.